The bull shark. You think of sharks as an ocean problem, something that stops the moment the salt water does. Bull sharks never agreed to that. They swim up rivers, slide into lakes, and turn up hundreds of miles inland in the exact warm, brown, shallow water where people wade in without a second thought. The ocean keeps a kind of rule book for where a shark is allowed to exist, and the very first rule, the freshwater line, this one swims straight through. Picture the scale of it. A shark at a river mouth is already odd. Hundreds of miles upstream is stranger. Bull sharks have turned up around 1,700 miles up the Mississippi, and something like 2,500 miles up the Amazon, closer to a landlocked city than to the sea. So the freshwater you always assumed was the safe option, that's on the list too. Great. Here's why it works. Almost any other shark would swell up and die in a river, because their bodies are tuned for salt. Turns out the bull shark just runs its kidneys and one special gland into overdrive, dumping water and hoarding salt until it carries its own private ocean chemistry inland. The ocean was never the boundary for this animal. It's just the parking lot. The Cookiecutter Shark. Everything about this one is built to make you underestimate it. It's about 20 inches long, soft, and it glows a gentle green in the dark, like something completely harmless. Then you see what it does to animals that could swallow it whole. There's a reason the United States Navy once thought an enemy weapon was quietly disabling its submarines back in the 1970s. Subs kept limping home with chunks gouged out of their soft rubber sonar domes, and someone up the chain suspected sabotage. Turns out the saboteurs were cookie-cutter sharks, treating a nuclear submarine like a light snack. Somewhere along the line, nature looked at this little fish and decided what it really needed was a mouth built like a hole punch. It hangs in the open water, glowing like an easy kneel, and when something big drifts over to investigate, the cookie cutter clamps on with suction lips, spins its whole body, and twists out a clean, round plug of flesh, before the victim even understands what happened. It does this to whales, to great whites, to tuna, animals 10 and 100 times its size. Look at the wounds, and they're almost comically tidy, perfect circles, like the biggest animals in the ocean all wandered past the same cookie cutter. Turns out the most unexpected place a shark can show up isn't a place at all. It's whatever's swimming next to you. The Epaulette Shark. When the tide drops out on a reef, the water goes with it, and the little pools left behind slowly suffocate whatever got trapped inside. For most fish, that's the end. For this shark, it's an opening. It's a small thing, around 3 feet long, with 2 big dark spots on its shoulders, like military badges, and it hunts crabs and worms across the shallow flats of the Great Barrier Reef. Here's the ridiculous part. When a pool goes bad, it climbs out and walks, on its fins, across bare, wet rock in open air, propped up and waddling to the next pool over like a commuter who just missed the bus. A normal fish out of water has minutes. This shark can wander around far longer than that, and it can survive with essentially no oxygen at all for close to 2 hours. Scientists have watched it pull this off and mostly come away impressed and a little unsettled, because doing it means shutting your own body down on purpose. When the oxygen crashes, it slows its heart and breathing to a crawl, and reroutes what blood it has straight to the brain, holding one very long, very deliberate breath. While everything else in the shallows drowns, this shark just gets up and leaves. If you're enjoying learning about creatures like this, I post new animal deep dives all the time, and subscribing really helps. Thanks. The Goblin Shark. Half a mile down, in water sunlight has never once reached, there's a shark that looks like a mistake and hunts like a trap. Most people will never see one, and honestly, that's probably for the best. It's pinkish and soft-bodied, with a long, flat blade of a snout and a mouth full of thin, nail-like teeth, drifting slowly through the black, somewhere around 1,000 to 1,200 meters down. The rulebook says a shark needs light and warmth to hunt. This deep, it deleted both and hunts anyway. And its face does something no other shark's face does. The jaws sit on a kind of hinge, and when prey drifts close, they slingshot forward out of its head, snatch, and snap back flush like nothing happened. Picture your own jaw detaching from your skull, firing forward a full hand's length and clicking back into place. For this shark, That's just lunch. Scientists studying the mechanism basically shrug and admit the whole setup looks designed by someone who'd never actually seen a face before. Down there, prey is rare and might drift past only once, so its snout reads the faint electric fields of hidden animals, and that catapult jaw closes the gap faster than the shark could ever swim. It spends its entire life somewhere no light will ever find it, wearing a face nobody was ever meant to see. The pocket shark. When you picture a shark, you picture something that fills a doorway, all teeth and menace. This one fits in the palm of your hand, and until very recently, almost nobody knew it was down there at all. We're talking about 5.5 inches long, roughly the size of your phone, pulled up from the deep Gulf of Mexico. Only a couple have ever been found, and its name isn't really about being pocket-sized, though it obviously is. It's named for 2 tiny gland pockets tucked near its front fins. Those pockets are thought to squirt out a glowing fluid, and its skin is dotted with light-producing organs. So in the lightless deep, this palm-sized shark runs its own faint glow instead of borrowing any from the sun. So, to recap, it's a fully grown predator you could accidentally leave in a jacket and put through the wash. Real shark, real teeth, small enough to lose in your laundry, and quietly glowing in the dark 2,000 feet down where nobody thought to look. Size, it turns out, was never the thing keeping sharks out of the strange corners of the ocean. The frilled shark. Haul this thing up from the deep, and your first instinct is that you're staring at something that should have died out ages ago. It moves like an eel, bites like a trap, and belongs to a family line older than most of the trees standing on land. People love to call it a living dinosaur, frozen in time. The common version of that story is wrong. It's a fully modern shark that just happens to come from a very old branch, not some prehistoric survivor thawed out of a glacier. What it actually is 6 feet of brown, snake-shaped shark with frilly red gills and a mouth clearly organized around a single rule: nothing gets back out. There are about 300 teeth in there, arranged in 25 rows, every one of them curved backward. 1 row would be bad. 25 rows is a nightmare with a filing system. All those inward-pointing needles mean anything it grabs can only slide one direction, and that direction is down. In the dark, it can't afford to miss a meal, so it lunges its whole flexible body forward like a striking snake, and the harder the prey fights, the deeper it hooks itself. It looks like a leftover from a lost world, and it's been doing this quietly the entire time we thought we understood the ocean. The Portuguese dogfish. There's a depth where the water stacked above you weighs enough to flatten a car, where it's permanently black and just a few degrees above freezing. For almost everything alive, that's a hard no. For this shark, that's the front door. The Portuguese dogfish holds the record for the deepest living shark ever documented, found down around 3,700 meters, more than 2 miles straight down. It's a stocky little deep-water shark with big green eyes and an oily liver, cruising along under pressure that would collapse a human lung and rupture an eardrum just a few hundred feet from the surface. It sails past 12,000 feet like it's strolling out to the mailbox. The trick is that it has no air pockets to crush in the first place, so all that pressure has nothing to squeeze, and that oversized oily liver keeps it hovering with almost no effort, while special molecules keep its proteins working in cold that would seize most animals solid. Every other creature in the ocean has a floor, a point where down finally runs out. For this shark, the floor is just the neighborhood. The Ninja Lanternshark. Somewhere in the deep water off Central America, there's a shark so black it seems to erase itself against the darkness. And we only got around to giving it a name about a decade ago, back in 2015. It hides in the one place where hiding still works, which sounds backwards, right? It's already sitting in permanent darkness, thousands of feet down, and yet it's clearly doing something deliberate with light. Here's the strange part. Total black should be the perfect place to disappear, except any faint glow at all would give it away from below, silhouetted against the dim light leaking down from far above. So it goes fully jet black across its whole body and runs tiny light organs that produce just enough glow to match that faint background. From underneath, it melts into the glow. From every other angle, its skin swallows what little light there is. By this point, the rulebook is out of pages. This deep, the ocean stops telling sharks what they're allowed to be. The result is a shark that has basically nothing left to hide from and hides anyway, perfectly, ninja-ing itself out of existence in a room where the lights were already off. The deeper you go, the more the ocean stops asking what a shark is even supposed to be. The Megamouth Shark. We like to assume the big discoveries are all behind us, that anything huge in the ocean got mapped and named a long time ago. Then, in 1976, a Navy ship off Hawaii hauled up its anchor and found a 15-foot shark tangled on it that matched nothing in any book. An entirely new kind of shark, the size of a small bus, and we had simply never seen it before. Despite being that enormous, the Megamouth had stayed completely hidden until almost living memory. It can reach around 18 feet. With a huge, soft, rubbery mouth, it holds open to strain clouds of tiny shrimp out of the water. And where it spends its time is the whole answer. It hangs in deep water through the day and rises at night, living out in the vast, empty middle of the open ocean, where almost nobody is ever looking. Fewer than a few hundred have ever been confirmed in total. Sit with that. Something the length of a delivery truck, and for the entire span of human history, it just quietly commuted up and down through water we were sure we knew. The most unexpected place a shark can live turned out to be right in front of us, out in plain open water, unseen for as long as we've bothered to look. The Greenland Shark. Right now, under the Arctic ice, in black water barely above freezing, there is a shark swimming that may have been alive before your country existed. It isn't fast, it isn't pretty, and it might just be the strangest animal in the entire ocean. The number attached to its age is so large that scientists genuinely doubted their own instruments. These sharks grow about a finger's width each year, which means a big one has been slowly getting bigger for centuries, and radiocarbon dating puts the oldest individuals somewhere between 270 and 500 years old. Some of them were born back in the 15 or 1600s. So let's take stock. It's 21 feet long, over 2,000 pounds, nearly blind because most of them carry a little parasite dangling off each eye, and its flesh is naturally toxic, and it's doing perfectly fine. That toxin is tied to the same antifreeze style compound flooding its body, the thing that lets it keep working in near freezing water, and living life in extreme slow motion down there in the cold is a big part of why it lasts so long. People assume something this slow and half-blind must be a helpless scavenger. Turns out, fresh seal has been found inside them, which hints it can slip up on prey napping at the surface. This is the last address on the map, the coldest, darkest, most impossible page in the whole rulebook, and something has been quietly living there for 400 years. There is a shark alive at this exact moment that was born before the telescope, before your nation, before almost everything you would call old, and it's still out there, in the dark, in absolutely no hurry at all. If you made it all the way to the end here, I post new animal deep dives like this every week, so hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.